This is the last video in the series, and up until now, we have kind of achieved almost 90% of what we wanted to. And if you can see here, this is the final page of our app looking like right now. Of course, the styling is not yet done, and I'm sure you will be able to do that. Working on the margins and borders and spacing things out to give them an aesthetic appeal is something that you'll be able to do later. The last part of this app is basically just adding functionality to these delete buttons so that they are deleted. Any sticky note which I want to delete should go off from this page, as well as should be dropped from the database sticky table as well. So that is what we are going to see today. So as you would have, I think, already guessed, what we need to do is in our app.py, just where we have defined these login, register, show sticky, add sticky routes, we also need to define a delete sticky route, and we will link it with a button. Here in sticky.html we had actually this button, and we will link this delete button with that app route that we are going to create now. So in your app.py, just like you always do, just go forward and define a route for delete sticky path as well, so that server understands that it's for deleting sticky notes. Now over here, when you actually delete the sticky note, how does the program know which sticky note are you going to delete? Like, does it have a name? Does it have an ID? So yes, that's the reason why when we had actually created our sticky table, we had actually made sure that we are taking an ID, which is an auto increment number, which means whenever we keep adding notes into it, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, it's auto incrementing, and that's also becoming a part of the sticky note table. So we will actually use this note ID to basically just delete the that particular sticky note from the table, right? So we have to, over here in the delete sticky path, we have to provide that variable so that it understands that this is the note that I'm going to delete. Okay, so this is how it is written in Flask. I'll provide this as a variable called note ID, and this note ID is actually going to come from sticky.html when I actually like define it. So I'll show you there how it is being flown over here. Okay, so this is your note ID, which is used to make sure that we are deleting the right note. Okay, methods of course is post, because we are posting to the server. We are trying to delete, we're not trying to get the information from the server. Here we are actually trying to delete something, so it's a post, which where we basically making changes to the app. So defining the delete sticky route, let me see if this spelling is, yeah, delete sticky. Okay, and it needs a note ID for it to work. So this function of course needs to know which note are you going to delete, right? So this part and this part needs to be same, and this part will also be in sticky.html, which I'll show you later. So first of all, yes, get the, okay, let me just copy this part from here as it's the same thing. Okay, so I want to get the email ID of the person who is trying to delete it. It should be stored in the session list. Okay, I want the note ID. Okay, this is the note ID, which is basically coming from your HTML. So flask.request.values.get. Okay, and what I want to get is a note ID. I want to make a connection. Let me just copy that part from here. Connection is SQLite3.connect sticky.db. Okay, I also want cursor object. Okay, so cursor is connection.cursor here. All right, and now what I want to do is just run a very simple query. As you already know, for inserting you insert, for deleting you just delete, right? So what do I want to delete? So delete from, sticky is the name of the table, where id is the field, which is note ID. Okay, where id is equals to note ID. It's a tuple. So tuples are like kind of a list which are non-mutable, like they don't change. So not ID, and then rest of it is the rest of the fields which will be deleted from the table, right? So note ID. Okay, I do want to connection.commit because otherwise the changes are not saved from the database. Okay, now at this point, when I actually delete the sticky note, I also want to show the updated view. Like when I delete one note, the rest of the notes should still show. Okay, so you can run few queries over here, or you can even redirect to the show sticky path if you want. Okay, so probably cursor.execute and select email from users where email is equals to, and it's the same email ID which is basically in the session variable right now. Okay, I will actually get this email cursor.fetch1. Okay, because I want to show the sticky notes which are linked with this particular email ID. That's why I'm selecting that field and then fetching that email. Okay, and then I'm running just a query on that particular email. So here I want to see select star from sticky where email is equals to that particular email. Okay, and again, now this one which got fetched is actually a kind of a list. Okay, not a list but a string basically, and I want to just get the first part of that. Okay, so yeah, here this is a tuple, so this is how it works, and then you want to get all the notes for this email ID. Fetch all, right, and connection dot close, and return flask dot render underscore template. And of course I don't want to go anywhere else, I just want to stay on the same sticky.html where the email of the person is going to be the same email which I fetched here, and the notes are going to be what is now fetched from the notes from the sticky table after this note got deleted. Okay, so the thing is that I could have used this whole code, because this is the whole repeated code that I have actually written again, right? So I think what you can try is that maybe what we should have done, instead of this whole thing, because this is the whole repeated code which is basically just the show sticky path, you could just, instead of whole thing, just delete all of this and only try in your code to say that return flask dot rendered, return flask dot redirect, and then in the redirect just give the show sticky path. You can try this for yourself to basically make your code more efficient and avoid the repetitions, because here also what we are trying to do is just trying to get the sticky notes for that particular email, which is basically show sticky path, which we had already defined here. So try that, I'm sure it will work for you. Okay, so I think delete sticky is fine, which we are returning the path email with notes. It should work. Let's see. Okay, now let's go back to our sticky.html, and here we are going to define which note we are going to delete. All right, so over here, this is the notes container which we had defined earlier. So all the notes are being shown over here with the delete button. Now this is the delete button which I want to link with that path that I have already just created right now. Okay, so here inside the div, I am going to associate it with the delete path. So form action over here is going to be delete sticky. Okay, delete sticky, but as you know, in that path when we had defined, we also were passing the note ID variable. Okay, so this is Flask uses a separate, or I would say a particular template engine called Jinja 2, and Jinja 2 has its own syntax to run loops. You have seen this is how you run a for loop and things with percentage sign and these curly brackets, which is not really a Python syntax. So over here, when you actually when you're creating these delete buttons, you of course want to keep track of the note IDs. Okay, so this is like a loop that you are running on the sticky notes, and you want to fetch that particular note ID. So how do you write it in Jinja 2? You will say loop dot index 0. This is how you write it. It's just a syntax which is written to sort of capture the ID of the note. Okay, method is going to be, of course, post, because this is what we had defined in our app.py also. So over here we have now got a form action linked with this delete button. Okay, but you know, the thing is that if you really want to capture the note ID, then the delete button should be associated with that, because this delete button is for each of the notes. So how do you make sure that the note ID is also sort of attached to the delete, but it doesn't show up on the page? You don't, of course, you don't want in your final app to show the notes with 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? But you still want them, the note IDs, to be there so that we know which note we are trying to delete. Okay, so in that case, HTML has a really nice method, which is that you can actually include an input type which is hidden. Okay, hidden means it is there but it's just not visible. Okay, name of this field is going to be the note ID, which I was telling you about, like where we had defined it. Okay, value of this note ID, as you would have already guessed from your sticky table in your database, it's the note 0, which is the first field in your table, the note ID auto increment one. Okay, so this is now bound with your delete button and it is hidden. Okay, every time you want to delete it, it will capture the note ID of this particular note. Okay, it will give it over here, okay, in this part, and then this part is actually executed over here, which it gives to the app root, and that deletes the particular note. Okay, so this is here, and the button, I hope I have not missed any brackets to be closed or something. I'm just quickly checking. So delete sticky loop index, and this closes here. I have definitely not closed the form somewhere, so here. Okay, form is closed, there are breaks, and then it shows the text of the node. The div is closed, which is for this div, and for, and then this div is closed here, body HTML. I think this is all complete. Okay, the last thing that I would want to add over here, which I am thinking, is if I go to app.py, if you remember the add sticky note, okay, this add sticky note, it actually gets your the color of the note and the text of the note and adds it. But you also want that, let's say if somebody tries to add a blank sticky note, it shows please enter some text on your sticky note. So we have defined it over here, but then how will it show on the HTML page? Okay, this is the server side coding, but how does it show to the client and where does it show? So we have to make sure that there is a place in sticky.html where this flashed message is being shown if somebody enters a blank sticky note. So let's go back to the sticky.html, and you can actually show it anywhere, but it makes more sense to actually show that message somewhere below the welcome, okay, which is the top band, welcome whatever, and before all of this begins. Okay, so before they begin, I think somewhere in the middle of it you can actually do that. Okay, so I can add it here, or maybe I can add it on the top, very top, just for them to see it clear. Okay, actually the placement doesn't matter, you can place it anywhere. So here I'm going to just run another for loop, because there could be more than one messages. So with messages equals to get flashed messages, it's again inbuilt function. Okay, so you are getting all the messages from the server. Okay, if there are messages, okay, so I'm just gonna say if there are any messages in the server that it wants to display, we can have an unordered list. Okay, unordered means like something which is with bullets and stuff. You can even remove the bullets later from the styling. So in an unordered list, we can actually run a for loop and we can actually show all those messages. So I'm going to say for each message in these flashed messages, okay, I want to display those messages. Okay, so it could be maybe in the center. Okay, list item is li, and what I want to display is each message in this loop, right? There could be one, there could be more messages that you may define. So that's why I'm just writing it, so that if you have any more messages in your app, so it will show up all of them. And I'm keeping it open-ended because I do not know, maybe your app will run differently than mine, and maybe you will configure more messages, right? Here, where is the end for? Yeah, this is where my end for ends. I just have to take care of the indentation well. End for ends here, and then my unordered list ends here, which is this indentation. Okay, and the last thing that should end is this end if. Okay, so here is my end if, and the very last thing that I should close is this with block. With is like your while kind of a block. Okay, so end with, some syntax is different, that's why it looks a little bit different. Okay, so I think that's about it, and let's just check if this works or not. So let me run the server, and I'll go to the link. I'll sign in with email ID which I have just fake created, which had some of my notes, so I just want to check on that. It's giving me an error which is get flashed message is undefined. Okay, it actually should not be message, it should be messages, because that's the name of the function actually. So why is it showing? Right, so that's the error. It should be messages because that's the name of the function, and I have not used it correctly. Okay, right. Let me run it again and see if there are any other errors or any spelling errors or any brackets that I have missed or something like that. We can actually debug that right now. gmail.com, and this is the password. So fine, I have these. Let me see if I am able to add new sticky notes after adding this new code. So if I add something in yellow, it gets added. If I want to delete this green, it goes off. And if I want to delete this as a new test note, it goes off. So this is working pretty well. If I log out, it should take me back to the login page. If I sign up, it should take me to the sign up page. So the app is working perfectly fine. You could have checked the flashed messages also later. So I think the only thing left is to now style it properly and add anything else that you want to. Okay, I will very quickly just show you the last thing, which is your manage pack. Okay, I have actually uploaded a criteria for this task, right? I'm sure you have seen it, but I want to just bring your attention over here to what's the criteria like, and this is the summative task for you. Assessment rubrics are these. So app has a sign up feature, can log in with email, validation works, elements look consistent. So these first 3 points are already done if in case you have followed the videos. The elements look consistent in terms of positioning, styling, alignment. This is your job. So these 5 marks are for you to do with CSS. The content is readable, which is again styling. Users are able to create sticky notes in 3 different categories. If you watch the videos, you'll be able to do that. Sticky notes could be deleted if the users want to. This is again, if you followed the videos, you could have easily done that. Now this is your additional features. So these 7 marks are for you to gain. You can, and you don't have to do all 3, it's just one of these. So you can add a drop down where the user can decide the font type and font size. You know, somebody who wants to create sticky notes in normal, medium or large, so they should have that functionality. Customizable themes, you can have a dark theme, you can have a different color background theme, which is not very difficult. All you have to do is have a drop down, give a few themes, and then change the background and the text color according to that. So this is a pretty easy one. Live character count is when they are typing something. it should show 1 2 3 4 5, like live character count. Should basically just keep counting the number of characters that you've typed so far, and it shows you live. You can choose any one feature, and if you have any one feature out of these three, you get 7 marks. So basically, from the entire thing, only your job, literally something that you have to do on your own, is this 5 marks. Content is readable, 2 marks. Okay. And these 7 marks. So 5 and 2, 7, and 7 is 14 marks, is something that I'm leaving up to you. Rest, all the points you could have easily gained if you have followed the videos well. Okay, so that's the end of it, and yeah.